Jule Campbell, I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome to Over 50 Shades of Grey. You are a filmmaker. You're an incredible filmmaker. I saw your film last year at the Credo Film Festival in Los Angeles, Credo 23. I saw it in the afternoon on a Saturday, and I was loving the festival, but I hadn't actually read what we were about to see. So when I sat down, I came in completely, not prepared for the incredible documentary that I was about to see. It was the only movie last year that made me absolutely weep in the theater because it was everything. It was funny, it was emotional, it was heartfelt, it was inspiring, it was heartbreaking. There was so many layers to your movie, and I am just thrilled that you're here to talk to me about it because I'm such a fangirl. So
Thank you, especially coming from you. And I really respect you and your work and your point of view. So that really just means a lot to me. And I can't wait to talk about it. I mean, the goals are in filmmaking are everything you just mentioned. Like that's literally my goal in making film is to create something with levels that kind of evokes emotion, and I'm really glad that this did. I mean, it was really hard for me emotionally.
And your journey to make it, I'm so fascinated because you're an independent filmmaker, which is an immense uphill journey, I am sure, all the time. And to actually finish something and have it out in the world and people getting to experience it, which is the goal. How long was the journey from beginning to end for birthing Beyond the Gaze?
I mean, this film was a miracle because I've been doing this a long time. Like I've been directing documentary film, working in documentary films for over 20 years. This is the third feature I directed. Some get funding, some do not get funding. I mean, it was like a 4.5 year process, or 5.
It's actually kind of quick. In the scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all of my docs take about 4 to 5 years, but it's
Yeah.
really interesting with this one because Julie was my former mother-in-law. I met her. I was 21 years old. She was a second mother to me, and I have a very kind of modern family relationship with my ex-husband, Bruce. So during COVID, he moved into her New Jersey farmhouse with her. She was in her 90s, and he's an only child, and he was going a little stir crazy, and we would just go there to like check in, make a meal. She just was starving to talk to us, anyway. She was bored. She lived this amazing life and sitting in a chair all day. And I had always wanted to make a documentary about her. And I used, when we would, and I was too scared to ask Bruce because he's my ex-husband. Like, it's not that friendly. So I never had guts to do it. So I would be there and she would just say, as you saw in the film, so many prolific, poetic words and would come out from her. So I would just find myself taking my iPhone out and just filming her. And then finally, I just begged Bruce, I'm like, can I bring my professional documentary gear back? I mean, as a documentarian, my husband and I have a production company. So we up. So he said yes. He gave me all these rules, and it was really hard because at first it would be like he wouldn't lower the TV in the other room. Or
What was that? Say that again.
we wouldn't lower a TV in the other room. Like we would literally move in with them for weekends at a time. And we would have the camera on sticks at all times, ready to just kind of catch her in this verite way. Cause that's how I like to film is I try to find the authentic moments, the show don't tell, the moments where you're really getting that emotion, which I'm sure you're very familiar with in the work that you do and probably similar to what you do. And so, whenever there was a moment, we would have the lav ready, have the camera ready, and we would like lav her up because she was in her 90s and I couldn't really interview her in the way that you would interview someone younger because she would sit for an interview, but at times she wouldn't. So it was just easier to get in these conversations with her. And she knew about the doc. She was very happy that we were doing because we were giving her agency at the end of her life. And she had wanted to write a book, and that's why she kept everything. And she never got to writing the book. So the doc really was that kind of memorialization of her life.
Such a fascinating story because she really was such a revolutionary woman in the industry. And like, I didn't know, in my mind, the swimsuit issue and Sports Illustrated was a man's creation and was a man's deliverance to the world. And to realize that she was really the force behind that and changed everything, not only for the magazine itself, but for the models. And she was in a time where women were not given the credit, and she definitely was not either. So to make this film and to actually give her credit due was really remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because as women, no matter what, we don't want to beat up on other women. Like, we want to support women that are out there having careers and living their best life and using their intellectual capacity and creative capacities best that they can. And, but Julie got a lot of, pushback, and she got, feminists. She got a lot of people that did not like what she did, but understand what she did. They didn't understand the story. So it was really, really a privilege to be able to share the story. What was the story behind it? It wasn't some woman going like, let's just exploit women in bikinis so that men could do what they want to in the magazine. I don't know. Most women don't. That's not our MO, is to exploit other women. So it was interesting. It was like Julie started as a fashion editor. She worked at Glamour, and she got the job at Sports Illustrated as their fashion editor to kind of like do ski wear. What do you wear to a football game? And then she was brought in. The magazine was dead in the winter. The Super Bowl was not, it was in December back then, or whatever it was. And so January, February were dead months for the issue, and they were trying to raise sales. And it was 10 years in for Sports Illustrated. It wasn't making money. The managing editor, Andre Laguerre, this dashing Frenchman who was really kind of prolific, said, let's put a woman in a bathing suit on the cover. So, and French is hot. Like, yeah, I know, different layers and levels to it. So he had his eye on Julie, brought Julie in, and Julie right away was like, I will do that, but I'm not going to do it in an exploitative way. I'm going to do it in this like sporty, healthy way and fashion way, and find sporty, healthy women and women that are not twiggy thin. And kind of that was her MO. And that kind of kept the balance from it becoming.
It was interesting too, because like, I didn't really realize this, but she also really launched the careers of what became in the 80s, the supermodel. Because the supermodel was a phenomenon. It's very different now, right? I think the internet has really changed things. But back then, and what I got from the film was that these women were able to launch their brand and have more control over their brand as opposed to others controlling their brand. And I felt like she was very instrumental in helping them do that, which really changed the game.
Well, it was the beginning of brands, right? Like, no one had brands until really Cheryl Tiegs with Sears, and she signed that amazing contract. And then they were and running, and Julie kind of discovered Cheryl. Like Cheryl says in the film, they were a team, and Cheryl was kind of smart enough to, to partner with a brand. And then Kathy Ireland and Elle McPherson, and they kind of like, it was a lot of learning too. Like Elle says, when the first brand she partnered with, she didn't own, she just lent her name to it, and she learned her lesson. And through the years, to like the next partnership she went into, she was like, no, I'm owning this. I'm not just giving you my name. But yeah, they were the first supermodels. And it's because she was the first one to put their names in the issue, and they became people. And before that, they were like coat hangers or just, and they'd be personalities that people knew and stars. And yeah, it's really exciting to see how all these women, Tyra Banks, Williams, everyone who appeared, really, Christy Brinkley, oh my God, like look what she did with her career, like smartly capitalized on it in, where people just want to label them as dumb bimbo models. They're opposite. They're laughing their way, bimboing their back, to amazing years, and
And she made it art too. Like, I even remember looking at those covers when I was 18 or 19, and you could feel the artistic expression behind it. they were beautiful, but they were also in motion. And I feel like she really helped guide that. To your point about it not just being, a beautiful woman scantily clad on the cover of a magazine.
Thank you for noticing that, because that's really important to me. Because I had access because she planned on writing a book. She would bring her work home with her. She was like an early work home person, and she had her light board and her loop, and she would edit from home, and everything remained at her house. And there's this funny story where, she had this chicken coop in the backyard of her farm, and nobody was allowed in this chicken coop. And for the 20 years I knew her before I made the doc, I was never allowed in the chicken coop. And when we started doing the doc, I was allowed in the chicken coop. And it was insane because what she did is she kept all the slides, all the Polaroids, all the Super 8s in these styrofoam cooler boxes. And there were like
the Eskies, the coolers.
Yeah, those white coolers.
Yeah.
And everything was pristine. Someone must have told her this is how you store all of that material. And so access to hundreds of thousands of slides, photos, Polaroids. I mean, we have not digitized it all. For the film, we probably digitized like 10,000 Polaroid slides, pictures. And then, we had to find out what legally we could use. And we found out we could legally use anything that Julie took. So Julie took the Polaroids or what pictures, but that made it more meaningful to me because I wanted to use only her photos.
And that, like, as a documentary filmmaker, I mean, that is incredible. I mean, who documents their life in that way? Through the lens, right? And that's what she was creating. And it's unbelievable. And there, all of the stills and the, the negatives that she had. I mean, that would make an incredible book.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list. I want to do a coffee table book. I would love to do an exhibit. I mean, there's a lot you could do with it. I'm talking to somebody in Germany right now who's going to do this magazine feature. So I'm sharing like some never before seen photos with him because I have so many and I just don't have the time to do.
Well, I'm sure you're also trying to get your next project going. So just touching on brands though, like how hard or challenging was it for you I'm sure you had to create a partnership with Sports Illustrated because you were using their covers and you have their name. And so how was that experience for you? And was it hard?
They were great. MJ Day is in the film, and MJ Day is the managing editor of the issue now, and Julie a mentor. So from the beginning, she really partnered with me. I mean, in terms of, so they were really fabulous. I mean, some photos they don't own, and they you have to either fair use them or so we hired a really good intellectual property attorney to see kind of fair use in terms of covers when we use those, or odd photo that we didn't use of Julie's. But so that was a nice part of the budget, but it was important. We didn't have the budget to pay for all of those photos, and the ones that were Julie's were free. But they came to our screenings. They loved them. They posted on their website. They posted on their social media. It was amazing because it really helps.
I also think too that they were smart. I mean, they also were trying to change their image and their relationship towards women, and they opened up the body types issue, which I thought was really, really cool. And so I feel like it supported them too in their change of how they wanted to be viewed in the marketplace as well.
Exactly. And, we were celebrating their founder. We did, free PR. The film is free PR for them, where we are showing how they're pivoting in the marketplace because they still have different people, different thoughts on what they're doing. But MJ is a real powerhouse, real feminist, and the company ABG that owns Sports Illustrated have really supported her as a woman in this field. And she's really taken the magazine in a very different direction with all body types, she's had trans models on, she's everything. And it's really inspiring to see like, okay, this is what Julie started. Like you see Kim Kardashian.
Right, and she's like actually taking it and, moving it into the next era. So when you and your ex-husband got together, was she still working at Sports Illustrated or had her career sort of She was still fully there.
He was still fully there. In fact, when I met my husband, it was like in October in a bar in the city, and she was
Perfect New York story.
yeah, I was waitressing at the Bebop Cafe on 8th Street, tried to start my career in this crazy business. And he came in, but she was basically, she always went on location shoots in October, November. And so I didn't meet her for a couple months later. And I didn't know much about, I remembered Sports Illustrated because the posters were in
Yeah, how could you not?
dorm rooms of every guy, like that's how I knew about it. We're like walk into a dorm room and there would be the posters. But then meeting her blew my mind. And then when I did a film on her, it's really interesting because, when you're that close with someone for so many years, and she was my mother-in-law, so we always loved each other, but we always had, she was my mother-in-law, so we had varying parts to our relationship. But then when doing the film, we got really close, and I realized how much of an effect she had on my life from a very young age, because she really taught me the finer things in life. She traveled the world. She had so much class and taste. And I was like a girl from Long Island with really bad highlights and acrylic sweaters, and she was cashmere and great olive oil and like going to the best of the best, in New York City, and taught me. It was great and so generous as a woman, as we hope to be to other women. That's my MO. And I think that was hers, was just really lifting up other women, but really kind of did it silently because there was no media back then. Nobody knew who she was, really.
No, and that was weirdly, I think by design on their part too, right? It wasn't the place for her to be the shining star, if you will, even though she was the one that was making that all happen. It's also interesting. How did, at the beginning of the process of you really committing to making the documentary, how did the vision of what you had in your mind and where you ended up change?
Oh my God. That's such a great question. And I
Need a couple more hours.
I know. Like I obviously had the vision that I wanted to tell her career part of the story, but the way she kept drawing me into the conversation, I wasn't planning on being in the film. But I told my husband, who shoots with me, and basically the way we work is we start shooting, and then when we get funding, we bring our team on. I always work with Nelson Walker, who's this amazing cinematographer who worked with Albert Maysles on many of his films. And but so I said, just film me in a way where we could cut me in or out, like give me options. I don't instinctually, I was like, I think I had to be in this film. And then I've never wanted to be in a film. I've never been in any of my films. That's not my thing. And then when we
Usually as a director, there's a reason why you're a director, because you want to be behind the camera.
yeah, like
But you feel that watching it, like she just pulls you in. Like I could even feel in watching it. And I thought about it. I mean, we talked about it afterwards when we met, but I could feel not your reluctance, but like you didn't have a choice. It felt like she's just like,
yeah. And then I thought our relationship's really beautiful. And there's not many stories about mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws. And our producer Rob Lyons and I talked about it, and he's like, "Well, you're the guide. I'm the story guide. So it's not about me. But it is a little bit about me, but I'm just the guide, and I'm the emotional guide to where she now, and like in her, and just she was so open on camera, and then the whole dealing with her mortality head on at the end of her life was this bonus of, how do I not put that in the film? How do you not? Like, it's this beautiful material, even though it has nothing to do with her career. Really, but I looked at the film as it's a woman's life. It's a woman's full life. You see the beginning, the middle, and the end. And it's a career woman's life and a mother's life and a mother-in-law. And I'm a writer. So I just really created a very strong outline from the beginning, using classic story structure, which I think really people think you can't do that with documentary, but it's really important. First act, second act, third act, point of no return, your reluctant hero on the journey. It's into documentary. You kind of wiggle around and you can't just create it. But so that really helped, was just having a strong strong out.
That's interesting that you say that about the classic story structure, because it did feel that way. Because where we started and where we end in the film, it starts the beginning, it's all the glitz and the glamour and the beauty and the beaches and this exciting life. And then by the end, it's the story of two women who really impacted each other at the end of one of their lives. And it was I like I said to you, I cried at many different moments in that movie for very different reasons. But the end was like, it made my heart ache to have a relationship like that. And it was really beautiful that you were able to show that and like share that and experience it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very blessed and I'm glad that it touched you because there's so much power and beauty in female relationships.
And I think even today, we still don't always see that. Like if you look at I come from reality TV and it's all about drama and people fighting over whatever object it is that they want, whether it's a relationship or whatever. It's a competitive environment. And so I think it's so nice to actually see that it doesn't have to be competitive and it can be super supportive. And we don't really get to see that very often.
No, I mean, we're competitive in this business. Competition, and it's hard because we support each other but we also compete, and yeah, it's a lesson that I'm trying to carry forward because when she would look at me and say, "You're my daughter," and and it was just I was her daughter, and she appreciated that I was there for her at the end of her life. And I did make her a meal, and I sat and listened to her stories, and I recorded them, and thank goodness I did. And that's what's great about the documentary form is that they could have all just gone to the grave with her in 2022. And all these stories about the 10,000 photos and the nostalgia from that time, which is cool because now I'm writing the screenplay version of it.
Oh, you are? That's amazing.
I'm doing the narrative part.
Oh, that's very cool.
I'm not in that part.
Well, yeah, you're not.
But I'm focusing on her career from the 60s to the Cheryl Tiegs, the fishnet bathing suit, and kind of how she dealt with a male dominated sexist atmosphere and created the most profitable magazine issue in publishing history, and how she did that as a woman. And a lot of the same themes that we're talking about, and how she supported the women that she worked with, and that's how they trusted her, and that's how they came back. She created careers and supermodels, but it was all about trust, and it was about art. Like when you said her work was so artful,
It was so beautiful.
she was an artist at first. She was an artist, and you could see that in her art. And I think some of that has disappeared in the digital age. I don't know. I just don't. The
Well,
luscious.
and to talk about AI, the skills and the techniques that go into making something a perfect image with movement and light and all of those things takes hours and hours. And now we can sort of do it, but does it have the same texture? Does it have the same quality? Does it have the same feeling? I don't think it does, but it's definitely, we're losing that art a little bit, and that makes me sad.
It's an imperfectness, everything's perfect but something, and like a grain of sand on a sailboat. That's why I think young women have loved this film, and I love that. Like, we did over 30 festivals around the country and won jury awards, and it's been amazing, and it always surprised me and made me really happy. Like, these young women would come up to me in their 20s and they were blown away by the film, and they loved the nostalgia. They didn't know this era and by this woman's career, and a lot of talks I'm having about with the screenplay is, how much have things changed and how much have they not for women? And, a lot of the sexism is still there. It's just much more muted. But it's like, do we make the same amount of money? Do we have the same say in these boardrooms filled with men? What have we reached? And in a way, Julie didn't have to reach it because she learned how to navigate around it in a really sneaky way. And get there the way you can. She got her way and she kind of had the last laugh, didn't she?
You know what else I loved in the film? And it seems like such a small moment, but like the fact that your husband was in it was, it was the comedy moment of the, but it was just like, it was such a sweet moment. I think you guys were walking into the car. it was just such a sweet moment, but it showed your guys' relationship. And also too, like, I feel like relationships end and things change. And what I also liked about it is it didn't mean that you and Jules' relationship had to end just because you weren't married to her son anymore. And also too, that your relationship with him, while totally different, was still a relationship. You have kids together. And it was also, it was a small little subtle moment, but I really like appreciated that
Thank you.
commentary,
My relationship with Bruce. I mean, it wasn't perfect when we first divorced, but that's a testament to Julie too, because the morning I got remarried, the morning of my second wedding, I got a package in the mail and it was a ring and a letter from Julie. And I know I lost it. And, it was the most beautiful note and the most beautiful ring. And I wore the ring all throughout the festival run. And I wear it all the time, anytime something to do with Julie, because she's close to me. But what a beautiful woman to do that. I'm marrying a different man, not her son. And with Bruce, we do have kids. And just because the marriage didn't work out doesn't mean he's not my brother. I will always love him. My husband now is really good friends with him. Again, it hasn't always been perfect, but it's a lot of work, and like I had to go back to him and get permission for the screenplay. And that was hard. It was always like signing a divorce agreement again, but he did. He signed it. And, it's still, I'm creating a film on his mother, but I think he's really appreciative of it too.
I mean, what better person that had such a strong relationship with her and that really is invested in the family and the family being taken care of, because it's your family too.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw her under. I'm going to tell the film. I told the film in a very realistic manner, and I didn't want to create a vanity project. And I really brought in the criticism to the issue, and that was really important to me. I mean, how could you not? But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to throw her to the wolves.
No, and I thought you handled that really well because from a feminist standpoint, the magazine had many issues for people but you dealt with it in a really great way. You showed both sides of that conversation. Ultimately, I felt like as a viewer, I made the decision that I was looking at this as art and that she was protecting them in an environment that really, if it was maybe handled by a man, would have been a very different experience for those models. So,
it's from what I learned during the process and talking to the women and talking to experts. And that's why it's called Beyond the Gaze. It's like, it's what odds the images, the sexualness. It's like Julie was creating beautiful works of art with beautiful women who wanted to do it, who this was their career and they happily loved their careers. But it was really the men that, placed all this sexual fantasy onto the images. And that's what they do. The women are not doing that. So why is it the woman's fault? Just learn to deal with your gaze. You could have your gaze. You could go sexualize whatever you want. Have a party. I'm all for it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't need to know about it. I mean, you should hear some of the comments that was said to me on this run during the film by men just blew me away. And I'm like, I'm sure Julie got so much worse. It's like, no, I need to know about your teenage fantasy life with this issue. And that's sexist for you to do that. And I can't believe how tone deaf you are to not think that you could just come up to me and say that. No, say that to me. And they used to probably said that to Julie and have said that to the models. So is that the female's fault or is it the male's fault? Is it a woman feeling good about herself and her body in a bathing suit? I mean, yes, there's so many different issues. And as someone who had eating disorders and dealt with like body image, that's a whole other film. And I'm not going to lower that. Yes, there's issues of female representation in the media and what it says to us as women and our bodies. And that's a whole other, I mean, you have to change the whole media to change that. I really went deep on our of like investigating that too. It's like, this is American society. This is how brands sell. This is how films sell. This is it.
But you also like the one thing that you said to me that I thought was really interesting was I think there was a day that you had everybody. Did you wear a swimsuit while you were shooting? Right. And so just explain that to me again, because I thought that was a really empowering moment. And I thought it was very cool.
Thank you. It was really empowering. I mean, the model probably thought I was nuts. But it was one of the newer models that was in the issue. We were filming her in Encino at this house, and I was like, "I'm gonna wear a bathing suit. It's at a pool. You're in a bathing suit." It was our only bathing suit shoot for the whole time, and so she was cool with it. And it was really empowering to kind of feel what it's like to work in wearing a bathing suit. I had a whole all-female team for that shoot, not because I was wearing a bathing suit, but that was always the goal, was I wanted as many females on the crew as possible. But yeah, it was really empowering and it really put us on the same level. And I have those photos. Share them with you if you want. Which was fun because we recreated, like, some pictures in the issue. We recreated, like, a Tyra Valeria shoot, which was really fun, and yeah.
So what made you, I'm so curious, like why did you want to become a documentary filmmaker? Like what was the inspiration moment where you're like, this is what I want to do with my life?
It was kind of by accident because I studied theater in college, and then I was a playwright, and I was a produced playwright, and I wanted to write for TV, and that wasn't happening in New York, and I had to stay in New York because I was raising my kids there, and I happened to get a job working as an associate producer on someone's documentary, and just became addicted to the form, and found that I could merge all my theater background and all my playwriting background with documentary, and it's sharing lives. And I think the thing about documentary is it's kind of goes deeper than news. And if you're telling this kind of, no story is truly authentic, but you try to be as authentic, by placing a camera on someone, you're changing reality, but I'm trying to get as authentic as possible. And documentary allows me to do that. It's just like, I'm also really nosy and curious. I realize about myself that I stare at people. I'm kind of silent. Find myself like I can stare at people and create whole lives for them. I'm sure a lot of people do this. Like I'll just look at someone and I'll just look at it in a restaurant and I'll look at a couple and I know their whole lives and I'll create my mind. And I think like documentary is like you're just really being a nosy person about somebody else's life or about a subject, and especially something that people don't know or a social issue that the world thinks differently of. I'm working on one right now where it's with a trans model, and trans models and trans people are getting bashed by society right now, and it's a chance to show that everyone's human and everyone has a heart and a soul. And hopefully for people that don't understand this, you create an hour and a half of humanity and of a true story, and maybe you've changed the world a little bit. So, it's all part of the storytelling we all do. And it's also really artful, and you could create it's so creative, and it's a people business. It's all about people.
What's the best thing about what's the thing you love the most about being a director?
Oh my God, it's so scary.
I'm also going to ask you what the worst thing is too. So
The most part is just, I didn't own being a director for a very long time. I didn't have the confidence to say I'm a director. The first film I worked on as a director, I was a producer first, and then I was like directing it. And then I had to be like, okay, I'm the director. But then it really is being in control of the vision and the story. And you're the one who's got your finger on everything. And you're hiring professionals that help you with that vision. And I love that too. I'm kind of a hands-off director. Like I'm very picky about who I hire, but once I hire them, I'm like very confident. We have lots of conversations about what this is about, but I also want to see what the other artist does and brings to the collaboration. So it's a huge job. But yeah, it's like it's really control freaky because you get to see your vision if you do it right. It's hard though, because you don't always get to see your vision. You're executive
Well, but
producers, money.
also too, like you were saying, like your vision changes. Like I think the having the confidence to follow this, truly follow the story and not get locked into what you thought it was going to be is a huge skill set that I think some people don't have, and I think you did have, and I think that that speaks a lot to why your work is so good.
Thank you. I've been doing this a long time. I'm 100% obsessed and dedicated. I got my master's in it when I decided I wanted to work in documentary. And it's like that 10,000 hour thing. Like, it's like I've done the work. And then at some point, you just follow your instincts. And I rely on my instincts a lot. I'm like, just, no, it's this. No, it's this. It doesn't feel like this, but just do it. It's instinct and structure. Yeah. So
It's also as I'm curious to hear what you think about the business right now because I feel like you hear constantly all the time how hard it is. I don't think there's ever been a time period where it hasn't been, a real love to get that project over the line. How do you think it's different now?
I think it's depressing. I don't think anyone will stop because we're all so addicted to
Right.
the crazy life that we've chosen for ourselves. I think that there's because of all the mergers and acquisitions going on, there's less people buying and there's less opportunity for indie films. And all the streamers are not buying as much as they used to. But then again, people say there was like only a window of 5 years that streamers were buying documentaries left and right. And now we're back to how it was pre that. So yes, it's like we got a taste of it. And now we're back where we started, and you just have to, I like when you were going to ask me what's the hardest part about directing is it's like, it's the business part. It's the 10,000 social media posts I have to post, the networking, the constantly putting yourself out there, not insulting anyone, not just that balance, right, of being aggressive, but not too aggressive and following up with everyone you meet, which I never do. And I notice like some people do, and they're a lot farther in their careers than I am.
Well, it's fascinating because it's like weirdly, it feels like the real work begins after you've finished the film, right? Because making it is like the fun part, right? Like that's the part that is the reason why you got in the business. But then as an independent filmmaker, you have to be everything. So then you shift into the marketing side of that, and it also seems, I hate to say the word endless, but there never seems to be an end to it because the life of a film now can weirdly keep going for a really long time, which is kind of great on one hand, but then it's also must be very hard for you.
It's endless. That's such a good point because it's like I built the website. I do all the social media. I'm the one who talks to the models and begs them to repost. And I don't have to beg them. A lot of them are amazing. And like, and sometimes
Remind.
they'll collab with me and without me even asking and surprise me. I wished Ella happy birthday the other day. I love her. She shared it and it got like 40,000 views. I mean, the power of any of them.
Power of that.
The
Wow.
power of that. But it's, I with filmmakers that are just starting out that think, oh, just give me $5 million and I'll make this film. That's all I need. It's like my third film. I've learned how to budget. If you're $5 million, you better know a budget sheet. That directing is just not just, hire your creative whimsy. It's like you have to, and the budget sheet keeps you organized and tells you what your film is too. And how, like, as you know, as a producer too, how many shoots, how much money this is, how much money that is when we're going
How
over.
bad do you want this? Because you can't have this if you want that.
Exactly. Negotiating with EPs who are handing you money, and it's so stressful. And then hoping that they get the money back and that they'll invest in more films. And right now, a lot of film, in order to make money, like there's one film that made a lot of money this year, on a couple that made a lot of money on the circuit. One did by just building a big following, like they had to build the following, did this huge theatrical, but that takes time, that takes a team, that takes like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, it's knowing your budget for that, and it's always changing. But I think the days of creating an indie and selling it for $5 million at Sundance are rare. It happens, and it happens to like 2 or 3 docs every year, but that's 2 or 3
Right. When you think about how much work is out there and how many filmmakers may not have made it to that position. But it's also it's an interesting sort of conundrum weirdly because it's like we're in a time now where it's easier because of technology and all of the different things and how things have changed and how you really can do it all yourself. So it should be easier, but I also think it's harder because people aren't looking to the independent film as much as they did in the years before, which is sad. It's a bummer.
It is a bummer because you go to festivals around the country and you're sold out and the community is there. You have the audience that loves these films, that like eats them up. And then, the only places we could show them to the world are through streamers. And then it's bifurcated. Then like my films on all like Amazon, Apple, it's with Direct TV, it's on Canopy, it's Google, it's YouTube. Now it's YouTube with ads. You can see it for free. So people can now, but like people have to know about it to find it. And they're not just like, and I do think YouTube, everyone says it's YouTube and Netflix is basically where everyone views their content. And I don't have any budget right now to get people to YouTube. Like I say $100,000 of my budget to get people to the free ad-based YouTube right now. And that was a mistake. But you're making a film for 5 years and the whole industry changes because everything.
Well, and that's the thing, right? 5 years ago, that wasn't the situation. Now YouTube is airing the Oscars. So
So it's like we're in this everything's changing so quickly and, it is hard, but I'm still creating 3 projects. I'm never going to stop. It's depressing at times, that I created this film that's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes that is getting great reviews, that award winning, that people love. And like, I had to fight so hard to get it out there and to make people aware of it. And it wasn't picked up by a streamer. I mean, it got distribution, thank God, through Tribeca Film. That's ahead, we're ahead of the game with that because a lot of films are not even
right. Yeah, totally. I mean, that is insane when you start listing all of those things, the credentials behind the movie, and it's still hard to get the eyeballs.
I have every famous supermodel from the 80s and the 90s. I have a film that's gotten consistently amazing reviews. I have a popular, iconic culture. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have just made a tits and ass film and it would have sold. Maybe I made an artsy film and that didn't sell. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
And so now that you're in essence really shifting gears now and starting to work on other projects, how do you have that moment where you're like, I'm exhausted? Am I ready for another project? Like, how do you know when you're ready to actually start climbing that mountain again?
I'm exhausted. I took on 2 projects a little too quickly and I've had that back. The screenplay has been kind of really nice because it's kind of exercising my writing muscle again, and it's really interior and it's sitting in a chair in my house where I don't have to go anywhere. So I think I am really exhausted. I'm actually going to Italy tomorrow for like 4 days in Rome by myself, and then I got accepted to this writing workshop in the south of Italy.
That's so amazing.
So I'm like just excited to
That's very cool.
Yeah, I think I'm exhausted, but I know that I'm looking for the next projects. And that's also what's frustrating about our business because everyone's like, you have to have your 3 projects in your pocket and be ready to pitch. And, when you're hot, you have to get you're going to meet people. And it is true. You're meeting people at festivals all the time, influential, amazing people. And it's hard as an indie filmmaker because I'm not getting paid right now. So
it's also interesting too, like to that point about, like you said, about what are your next projects, like particularly with documentary, it really has to be a passion. Like it can't just be, oh, this story's cool and I'm enjoying this story, whatever. Like to me, it feels like a different level of you really gotta be passionate. So finding those stories that do ring that bell for you and and I feel like you have right now, you've got 2 that you're really excited about. But it must be hard when you're in that sort of moment where you're like, I don't actually know what I want to put my energy towards yet.
I'm still sort of like that. Like I'm kind of fleshing out these stories and seeing if they could docs. Like I think with experience comes like I don't want to waste my time on 5 years of something that's not going to go anywhere, and really strict with myself. And it is hard because you're dealing with human beings and their lives and people that are sharing their with you and you don't want to do anything to hurt their feelings or so, I'm also working on the screenplay, but I decided to work on a short narrative film, which I don't know. It's just like I kind of into that because I'm like I started narrative and I was always looking for an idea and I figured out an idea finally. And I just want a proof of concept with the narrative short. I did one before, and I think it's almost easier than docs.
Well, because you can create the whole world. Like a doc, you really are, you need another partner to help you make that movie. So what are you working on when you go to Rome? Are you focused on one project?
Working on the screenplay of Beyond the Gaze. I've had interest. Certain people have been interested in that, and that kind of pushed me. I wasn't ready to write. I knew I was going to write it, but then I had people approach me, and then I was like, "Let me do this," and then it was great. It's in a great place. So, but I would never want to direct that. Like if that gets made, that's a bigger movie that I don't have the experience for, which is why a shorter film to kind of like play with that. Cause I also feel
You say that now, and then you'll end up, nobody else seems to understand this. I am directing it.
I do feel like as artists, we don't have to put ourselves in boxes. Like we don't have to.
Well, and you're growing too, like you're evolving just because, you're not 21 anymore. It doesn't mean that your career isn't and you're continuing to learn things. And it's probably why you love this business is because you're always evolving. You haven't completed your work, your work of you.
No, exactly. And stories, stories. You can tell it's the form that the story comes to you in. Like the short film that I'm going to create is hybrid. It's documentary too, but it's really fun because it's got like documentary. It's me. It's my style because it's documentary elements, but it's net too, so it's very different. But yeah, I think it's like you are always growing. I wish it was easier. I mean, it is. I have been like in this kind of down period lately, even though I don't seem like I have. It's like you're on this. We got full funding for Beyond the Gaze, and it was amazing. And I had a dream because of Sharon Shuttleworth, who's my executive producer, is like the most amazing woman and one of my closest friends, and came in and funded the whole film through her company. And that's probably won't happen again.
Well, you never know. But I mean, listen, that's what you're always looking for is for people that see the vision that you have and are willing to take the risk on the journey because it is a risk, but that once you get the possibility of telling those types of stories is so powerful. And I can't wait to see your next film, whichever one you land on. I'm there. I just love your work. And I just really, really appreciate you spending time with me and sharing, a little bit behind the scenes. And we're going to link below to everywhere that you can see Beyond the Gaze. And if you haven't seen it, you must see it and have a box of tissues with you when you're doing it.
If you like it, give us a rating somewhere. That really helps.
I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Have an amazing time in Rome.
Thank you. I'm going to eat a lot of pasta. I'm psyched.
Yeah. And wine, pasta,
gelato, pasta.
And you won't put on 1 pound because it never happens when you're in Rome. It's all just shoved away.
Walk. I'm like so psyched for like gelato. Yeah. Wine, everything. So
enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye.